inspiration.
Oh,
Oh,
yes, I
she's
love it.
great.
Oh, she disappears, except that she looks like she's here.
Oh, you know what? Okay, I've got inspiration to share too. So we're buzz chatting today with Angela Mansfield, Laura Williams, my two awesome friends. Thank you for coming. And Laura, thank you for leaving the slopes of, where are you, in Rochester? Where are you?
I'm south of Buffalo.
Okay, and you're skiing with your family, and you
I'm
came
skiing.
in
Yep,
to have this conversation with us. And
I did.
Angela is in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, right?
I am not skiing.
She's
I'm
not-
staying inside.
What's the temperature, Angela?
It is 10 below 0 Fahrenheit, which you so graciously changed to Celsius, which was what? I forget. 20.
22 or something.
Yeah.
So insanely cold. What's the temperature in where you are, Laura?
It's right around 20 degrees.
20
That sounds
Fahrenheit.
lovely.
Okay, so
It's
that's
perfect.
like paradise. Yeah, and here it's much warmer. In fact, you know, when I saw Angela sent the screenshot of her, you know, of her temperature, I thought, oh, there's a reason I live here. I don't have that. But anyway, so I was just having a conversation with my friend Marcus, who works in video gaming, and we talked a little bit about inclusion in the video gaming industry, and he told a story about how he wanted his game developer wife to have a Barbie that was the right color. So he bought the game developer, and then he bought another Barbie that had a darker skin tone and changed the clothes and tried to put it back in the packaging. I love that story because it's kindness month. So, and then I showed him, of course, my Kamala doll, but when are we
Nice.
going to get an Amanda doll? That's the next question.
I saw online a doll maker made one for her daughter. And I was like, where can I buy that? Where can I buy it? It was a stuffed, like soft doll.
I bet people will be crocheting them soon too. That always happens, like on Etsy or something. We'll see that. And I just want to highlight my new necklace that I got from Denise.
I love
who couldn't
it.
be with us
It's
today.
awesome.
But
I love it.
What's interesting about it's like my Angelo reference. I know why the cage bird's saying, but I love how the bird is on top of it. And I thought, oh, it's kind of like Maya. Maya's free now, right?
She's free.
She's free. So there we go. So today is Sunday. Today is the Super Bowl Sunday, and Amanda Gorman is going to be reading a poem. So I just wanted to get your, your take on things, both Angela and Laura. So, where you want to start, girls? I'm psyched.
Well, first, I do want to say we're rooting for the hometown guy, Tyler Johnson, in the Super Bowl for the Bucks. It's his first year.
Oh, the Buccaneers.
Buccaneers. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
Okay.
Buccaneers. Right. It's his first year. He's a great grown man who was a kid that played with my nephews in basketball. And so
that's exciting. That's really exciting.
Cool. That's very cool. Okay, so we have to root for him. Okay.
Hijacking the conversation. Sorry.
No, totally fine.
Laura, who are you rooting for?
The Bills, of course.
They're not playing against the Green Bay Packers, right?
No, but they had a fantastic season. So we're all just kind of on the Buffalo Bills high right now. So, but that's okay. I really do like Patrick Mahomes. I think he's an awesome guy. So I'll probably be happy that Kansas City wins. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter at this point. The Bills aren't there. So I hope it's a good game.
Okay. So I want to know more about, I want to check in with Angela too, because we got back in touch also with Laura when the protests were happening, the George Floyd tragedy happened in Minneapolis. Then there was the protest for Black Lives Matter. Then there was this great sort of movement that became very, very big and much more diverse, the Black Lives Matter movement. And we've been in our classrooms here, and I think personally trying to be actively anti-racist. And so I just kind of want to know where you're at now, Angela. What's been going on since then? And what's your, we have a new president, lots of things have changed. So I just wanted to do a quick check-in with you. What's going on?
Yeah, I think specifically in Minnesota, we're kind of at a moment of kind of pausing and holding our breath again, because the trial is scheduled to start very soon. And we have noticed that the governor has called for the National Guard to be enacted when the trial starts. And so there's a lot of emotion, even though, you know, in Minnesota in the winter, we tend to hibernate and really go indoors and kind of hunker down. But there's a collective kind of pause in the breath right now, because people are anticipating what's going to happen in something that we all feel like we saw and know what should happen, and then historically know what tends to happen. So I think until that trial goes on and we hopefully see some kind of justice, I think people are going to feel on edge for quite a while again, even in the backdrop of a new president. You know, some very positive things that are happening in Washington, decisions that are happening in Washington. Even with, you know, in Minnesota, we have the best as we could vaccination efforts going on right now. Schools are starting to open. There's a lot of good things that are making people kind of feel like maybe normal is coming back sometime soon, but that's one heavy kind of curtain that's hanging on us all.
Okay, gotcha. And since we're talking about being schools opening again, not being open again, I want to check in with Laura with this, because, you know, Laura also works in education. She's a teacher and has been feeling kind of the I don't know how to say it, the sort of heaviness of having to kind of be a hybrid teacher, kind of a little bit online, a little bit home. What's going on in New York, Laura?
Well, I wish that I could say the same that was happening in New York as happening for Angela, but you know, I'm feeling the frustration of a not so great rollout of vaccinations, and I'm in an eligible for vaccine group, and it's all but impossible to get an appointment to make a vaccine. And so many of us right now are in the position where we're trying to make appointments for our elderly parents because
Sure.
they are also eligible. And that tends to be the priority, but the appointments are going so fast that, you know, it may be 2 or 3 more months before I get a vaccine at this point. So, but at the same time, as I've been pretty open about the fact that I live in a fairly conservative region, you know, there's a lot of pushback of let's get these schools open, let's get schools open, let's get schools open. Yet, there really is not a successful rollout of vaccinations for teachers. So I don't get the sense that teachers feel safe at this point. So we'll see. And hopefully, you know, there's been a 16% more vaccinations that have been made available to us, but I haven't seen the benefit of that yet. So we'll see. We'll see.
I had another question about Laura, since you are skiing today, because here they're going to open all the ski places. People will be able to start skiing again, I think after the 15th, but by you, I don't think they ever close. So what's that like? Is it
so? No, well, okay. So, and I've talked about the difference. I mean, I think the difference in skiing in the East Coast versus skiing on the West Coast versus skiing in Europe. I mean, I've skied all 3 places, and we don't have like that station atmosphere where the skiing is really departing right from the main street of that ski resort, ski station. So the regulations that we have are, you know, kind of the similar with restaurants and whatever, 50% capacity, face coverings at all times, except when you're actually physically skiing. So on the lifts, you have face masks, when you're the lines, etc. So, but it's kind of a natural thing for us, you know, to have a face mask on when you're skiing. So it doesn't really feel all that different. And I'm fortunate to be skiing in a place, it's never really super crowded. So it's kind of a nice way to get off the couch and get out and do something during this time period where we can't really do much. So, yeah.
Okay. And Angela, what are you guys doing in winter? Are you doing anything fun?
Hibernating.
What else is there to do?
That's what we do.
And you know what?
Eat good food and hibernate.
Exactly, right. Have you been to Prince's house? It's my dream.
I-
That's why I'm asking.
I'm a bad Minnesotan. I have not.
Okay, can we go together then? Because
Absolutely. That would be
I'm not
fun.
kidding. I wanted to go last time and I couldn't make it work out, but it's my dream to go to Paisley Park. And now that it is like a museum,
Yep.
I really want to go. So
I hear
bought-
they've done a very nice job on the museum side of it too.
I can't
So.
wait. So I bought a ticket to go to the States this summer, as you know, and then it got canceled like 2 days later. So what's going on there? Have you heard about this kind of thing? I think they're super cheap tickets. You buy them, then they cancel them. So I don't know. I'm feeling suspicious
meeting.
about the airline industry.
I did not know. My cousin made it here over winter break from Netherlands.
Huh.
So I
Well,
did
I
not
think
know that was a problem.
Well, I don't know. I don't quite understand what the problem was because it wasn't until June. Won't even know
Yeah.
what's going to happen then. But, you know, my friend Denise, she went, no problem. She just had one of those, you know, flights where you have to get tested before you leave, and it seemed to work out. So I hope that I can get a ticket that will actually get me there. And if I do, Laura,
It's
what do you
on.
think?
Book a
Should we
flight to
should we meet
Chicago.
in, should we meet in Minnesota too and go?
It's
to
on. I can drive
Absolutely.
to that area of the world.
But we'll go in the summer. We can go to the Mall
Yeah.
of America. Is it still the biggest mall in America?
It is, well, that I think it might be one of, but it's kind of funny because everyone likes to go to the Mall of America and us Minnesotans are kind of like,
I know.
It's a mall.
It's a mall. Yeah, I went there once. I think when it first opened. Not
My
like
daughter
every
works
day.
at a bubble tea cafe at the Mall
Yeah?
of America. Yeah.
Nice.
So we can get bubble tea.
What's bubble tea?
It's a tasty concoction that has they call them toppings, which I dispute with my daughter all the time because they aren't
sink to
topping.
the bottom.
They're in the
Mhm.
bottom.
Bubble tea.
Tapioca pearls are what I choose.
Yeah,
like a
like
chai
imagine
tea.
those. It's like chai tea with these bubbles that like burst in your mouth, and they're served with this really big straw because you suck them up through the straw, and then you pop them in your mouth, and they kind of. It's a texture thing. I can't stand it, but my son.
I don't
loves
like
it.
the popping ones. I like the
Right.
tapioca pearls. They're chewy.
Every time I talk to you guys, I feel like seriously, like I just woke up after being like in a
In a
coma for
30-year
100
coma.
years or something. Seriously, I'm just like, what is
Well,
that?
that's what that's the buzz.
These days?
It's a Korean thing
Okay.
that is very popular over in South Korea.
Yeah,
And now it's in the Mall of America.
The Mall of America.
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Okay, so anyway, do we have anything else we need to buzz about this week?
Well, I know I'm really excited about the poetry and Amanda at the Super Bowl today. So that's really kind of the buzz
Yeah.
right now. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, tell me what you thought of Amanda at the inauguration. I thought she was amazing. I watched her 100 times. I watched
She
every
stepped
interview I
up to
could.
she stepped up to the podium, and my jaw just hit the ground, and I just
Right.
thought she is fabulous. Like that literally came out of my mouth, and I'm sitting with my students, and I was just like, I go, oh my God, she is fabulous. And she didn't even open her mouth, and I was
Right.
already like, whoever she is, I love her. And then when you find out that she has been on the scene for a good long time, and I'm sitting there thinking, where have I been that I was not introduced to this young artist sooner? And to just know that she had a speech impediment, and she's so politically savvy and so poised and composed. And the very next day in my classroom, I showed several speeches, political speeches. I showed Biden's inaugural speech, part of it. I showed Trump's departure speech, part of it. And then I showed her entire poem. And my students just latched onto it as well, which
Wow.
gave me an awful lot of hope and pride in their ability to understand what she was really presenting. So she was wow. I'm sorry. She wowed me.
Yeah. Angela?
She was the inauguration for me.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had been
Absolutely.
her all week because I knew she was coming, and I did a bunch of reading on her to know some of her background and such. I also knew the struggle she had before she even got to this podium of preparing the poem. And so I was really anticipating, like, where's this poem going to go, when we knew that the insurrection had like kind of pushed her to finish something that was so important
It
to her.
completed it. It
Right?
completed it.
Yeah.
It was
And
fantastic.
I found myself like pausing and writing things down in the moment, like of that I should have just been like taking in the whole poem from start to
I
finish.
I agree, and I immediately was like Google searching because I wanted to find the words, and it
Yes.
took, it took what, maybe 30 minutes for it to start, finding itself on the interwebs. But it's just amazing. And what I find really fun is that in my teacher professional learning communities that I belong to, now we're in Black History Month, and a lot of people decorate their doors and have conversations with their students about Black History Month. She is like everywhere for Black History Month, and it's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. So I'm excited to see where she goes, and you know, she wowed me. But I don't mean to continue the conversation, but I read Kamala's book, and I've read Stacey Abrams' book, and I've ordered her book, and I've read Michelle Obama's book, and done a lot of the work this summer. And when you think about the power in that inauguration of Black women, and I was I just took a step back and said, as forward thinking and as prepared as I feel as I am to be an ally, and I know that that's not the word that Angela loves, but where I am on that. I still feel so inadequate as far as the people who are working so hard for equality in our country, and I feel like us white women are just kind of on the coattails right now, and I don't know how to catch up. So that's my thought about the inauguration.
But I think you're like catch up might be the wrong positioning, right? Like I think
Right,
you've caught up by committing to the work, if that makes sense, because we're
right,
all over the place
right,
in where we are, and there are people who haven't even started. And not
right,
only have you started, but like you've made a swan dive right on into that pool and you're
right, right.
making it impactful every single moment of your life and the life of the children you touch, right?
Yeah, well, I hope, but it was just really, really, when you really let the levity of the people who were in important positions during the inauguration, when you let that sit and really resonate with you, you think, wow, we watched something very, very powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
for
yet
sure.
the things that haven't changed, are like, here you have this amazing woman who is taking the spoken word, so to a new level and to a new type of audience. And then you have these people who are going to criticize her, and it's like, oh gosh, we're still there again, and the same
Yeah.
type of language. And I just think there's that great article, was it in the CNN or something, about comparing her to Wheatley, the poet, who she was a slave, but she was also a poet, and how people couldn't accept that a slave woman could have the capacity to be such a wonderful poet. I mean, her poems were perfect, and people,
Right.
oh, it couldn't be her. And I just find that and it just like the types of criticisms, like, as white people, we have so far to go. It's like to just be able to let people be successful, and give people their space. And I feel like, to what Laura's saying about doing the work, yeah, I also feel like, gosh, how behind I am, how much more I need to know, how much more I need to do. And but at the same time feel like, okay, I also have to go, okay, but I can't go back now. Like, at least now I can't unknow what I know. I can only add to it. And so I think that that's my thing, is like, okay, I can't know everything right now, but what I can do is try to be as actively anti-racist as I can in every moment that I can. You know what I mean? Which is something that I realized I was part of the problem by not speaking up more, or, you know, and I think that's where we start. And then we just let people know, hey, it's a learning curve. We're all learning together and doing our best, but maybe hopefully we'll get better as we go along. But I don't know, I'm worried, you know, at how
the battle is not over.
It's not over. But I wanted to bring up one last thing that we kind of chatted about yesterday is, you know, I'm reading The Cast by Isabel Wilkerson, The Origins of Our Discontent. First I listened to it, now I bought the book so I could read it because I really feel like I need more time with it. And one of the things they bring up is there's that chapter about swimming pools, you know, and even, you know, after, you know, this is during the Jim Crow times, but I'm pretty sure it like continued way further after that, where the idea of having Black people and white people having the same water was somehow super offensive to white people. And I watched the documentary on Mr. Rogers yesterday. I think it's called Won't You Be My Neighbor, where there's a moment where they show Officer Clements, who, by the way, was a Black officer, like an African-American man who's playing an officer, which is just really interesting given like what's happening now with police brutality and things like that. So the idea of having a recurring character who was African-American, and there's a scene where Mr. Rogers is cooling off by putting his feet in a kiddie pool. You know, and this is a children's program for anyone who doesn't know Mr. Rogers. And then Officer Clements comes over and he says he's hot too. And Mr. Rogers invites him to put his feet in the pool with him. And they have like a little, it's like sort of this strange scene, these two grown men with their feet in the pool, but how symbolic that was. And you know, so watching that yesterday after having read this book was like, wow, when I think of how many courageous people, and you think that Mr. Rogers wasn't reading all the things that we're doing now, he was just going from his heart and just doing what he knew was right. And I think that gave me this kind of new sort of perspective on things, that, well, maybe if we're just really, you know, doing the work, that's important, but also just doing the right thing, it may not be recognized right away. But looking at that now, wow, I don't know how you felt about that, Angela, because you obviously come at it from a different perspective. You saw it before I did, and you like, what did you think about all that?
It actually, I have a recent story that it pulls me to, and it's a little bit different than the Mr. Rogers piece, but last weekend we brought my daughter back to Milwaukee for her final semester at college.
Milwaukee, at Marquette?
At Alverno.
Alverno, oh, great school too. Yeah. Well, you know, I lived in Milwaukee for many years, so.
There was a big snowstorm,
Yes, sir.
which we rented a vehicle and had front wheel drive, and of course got stuck, right? And I happened to know it's the main gate of her school, the old main gate, right? And it's a residential street. And so all along that street are Blue Lives Matter, Trump signs, you know, this past 4 years, right? And so of all places to kind of get stuck, that's not necessarily where we wanted to be stuck, right? And on the corner, which I know he had those signs, was a young man out snow blowing his sidewalk, and he came and tried to, you know, snow blow out our vehicle a little bit, helped my husband push. And the connection I'm making here is, here's a man, and he had his whatever police department sweatshirt on, right, as his Blue Lives Matter in his sign, his pro-Trump in the yard. But here it's similar yet far from that swimming pool piece, right? So when he saw us leaving Alverno College, I'm sure there are assumptions that would have been made of who we were, even as you know, Black couple, who we were and what we were maybe doing on that block, that made us acceptable and a norm for him, right, to push and help. But if he would see, you can't see it now because the screen is up, but my daughter's fist that she painted in her senior year of high school, that has all the faces of you know, at that time, who were the young men and women who were taken away, lives taken away, right? And the battered up flag, if he would see that, or a Black Lives Matter on our, you know, piece, what that could do to divide us immediately, right? So I think it's a long way of saying, like, we have so far to go that if we really did just sit down, put our feet in the pool, have some conversations outside of ourselves about what's important and what is the truth, you know, that is where we all come from, that maybe we could get a little further, right? And maybe we have been manipulated to think a certain way and do a certain way, because it maintains some things in our nation that are time to, you know, start to break down.
Right. And I go back to Laura. Laura had a nice little Twitter thing going with George Washington from Hamilton. What's the guy's name? I love him, but I don't know.
Christopher Jackson.
Thank you.
Christopher Jackson.
And one of the things that he said in his response to Laura was, "You can be all things at once."
You can be all things.
Right.
And I think when we start remembering that as humans, we can be, you know, we can all be jerks, but we can be loving, wonderful people. But I think one of the things that you know, that's happened over the last few years, the division is about like taking away the humanity. So I think even being the person who goes into that neighborhood where you may not normally be welcome, and you were a nice person who had a problem, and that other person was able to help you, and that brought that person joy, I'm sure, and of course helped you, which helped you. So I think those are little moments. So it's all still about doing the right thing. So hopefully we can go to, but I felt optimistic when Obama was president, and then everything changed again. So I don't know where we're going. All I can do is we can do our best to kind of to hope, but also to you know, use our power in whatever way we can to remind people that we're all human and go from there, right? Girls, I love you, girls. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Laura, have a great ski day. Angela, big kisses, thanks, and enjoy Amanda on the. You know, I can't wait to see the commercials and Amanda tomorrow, because I can't stay up.
Should be good.
And watch that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, enjoy
All right,
it.
bye,
Talk to you
ladies.
soon. Thanks.
Yep.
Take care. Bye-bye.